On the Couch with Koel.
A man who is sometimes contradictory, often controversial, and always courageous. General Pervez Musharraf. Once a general, always a general. In the past, he has been known as General Mischief, but today he comes to India as General Peace. General Musharraf, I am delighted to have you on the couch with me today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Firstly, I must commend you. You're a very brave man to come to India at a tense time like this and expose yourself to hostility. What does it make you feel like when you're regarded as the enemy?
Well, I believe in combating. So therefore, if somebody believes me to be the enemy and wants to talk to me with hostility, I return hostility. I believe in that.
Were you ever scared when you were sitting on the podium while making your speech that a bullet or at the very least a shoe might be hurled at you or something like that? Did that ever cross your mind?
No, never. I think I expect the Indian intelligentsia to be polite enough not to do such things.
Of course, and we're delighted that you came in, but your own daughter warned you not to go, didn't
Yes,
she? What
she
did she
did.
say?
She was scared. I think she was just scared. Why are you going? I mean, isn't it dangerous with all that has happened in Bombay and then in Lahore?
But you had a standing ovation at the India Today conclave, which just goes to show that your decision paid off.
Yes, I think with hindsight, I think I took the right decision to have come. And thanks also to India Today conclave.
You say that in your memoirs you have been granted 9 lives of a cat, but I believe that you have at least used up 100 of those. I mean, the assassination attempts that we all know of, then also falling off mango trees, not being fortunately on Zia-ul Haq's plane, and all sorts of other incidents that have happened where you've nearly escaped death. How has that altered your perception of life?
It has made me believe in destiny. It has made me believe that to be more brave. I mean, if something has to happen, well, it will happen and I can't prevent it. So while one takes care, you shouldn't be overly concerned, overly bothered. Like an example that I can give is when I was sitting in a plane and coming from Gilgit to Rawalpindi in the mountains next to Nanga Parbat, and suddenly there were black clouds in front and the plane decided to turn back. This was a small Fokker plane. It's a most dangerous route. So the man sitting next to me, and there was a lot of turbulence. He started shouting and screaming and called the air hostess and started shouting at her, and I had to tell him, and there were a lot of people obviously offering Fatiha and all that. So I told this man, I said, you sit down. Why are you screaming? If this aircraft has to crash, it will crash and you and I will all die. So relax. You are not going to change our destiny.
As a young kite fighter in the rough and tough district of Nazimabad, is that where you grew up? You assumed the title of Dadagir, which is the beater of bully. Did that also mark your destiny in some way?
Well, that was kid stuff, yes. Nazimabad, that area was an area where you have to exist with other boys who may be rough and tough at times, and you have to establish your position. Well, a supremacy or a position at least that you can't be bullied. You don't know how to bully anyone. I've never been a person who wants to bully around and do wrong things.
Nor get bullied.
You don't get bullied, yes. Nobody bullies me, yes.
In your memoirs, when you reached Karachi, you talk very beautifully about that moment. You say, an uprooted little boy found earth that was natural to him. I would protect that earth with my life. Do you think you didn't do enough in your 10 years in power? Because today, in the international press, Pakistan is being called a failed state, the most dangerous country in the world. Do you think you could have done some more?
Well, in 99 also, when I took over, it was being called a failed state and a defaulted state. And one expects, Pakistan is a country which has a lot of resilience. I have full faith in the people of Pakistan, and I am very confident that the people of Pakistan will force the government to respond to the need of the hour, and we'll come out of it. I'm very positive of it.
But it's not that you always followed the wish of the people of Pakistan to bring stability, to bring all the good that you did bring in Pakistan. The economy did well, you lifted the status of women, and yet you were ousted in a way by the people of Pakistan. Do you think you were a success or
No,
a failure?
that doesn't matter. After all, I was there for about 10 years almost. So one doesn't live forever, one doesn't hold positions forever. There are always ups and downs which one must learn from life. I did believe in when I came in, I put a democratic process, a transition, a three-stage transition in place, and then the
But
last
you
stage
were always
came.
all powerful. Even
No, not at all. This is what we think. This is what we think. Constitutionally, the constitution of Pakistan was in place. There was an assembly, there was a prime minister. Constitutionally, I had no power and authority whatsoever. However, because of my position, because of the respect that I enjoyed, somebody wants to come and ask me for advice on certain issues which maybe they are not being able to handle well, I obviously went in to help out. I never interfered. Now this will again come to you as a surprise in the functioning of the Prime Minister.
See, that is up for debate because people can say that you dismissed the constitution, declared emergency, but let's not get into that.
That was later, that was in the third stage. That
Let's-
was not in the second, that was in the third stage, and there were reasons for everything, yes.
You come from a family of very strong women. Your mother has been a working woman. She has even held a job at the UN. Your wife is a highly educated, equal partner to you. Your daughter is a professional architect. And you yourself have done a lot for the upliftment of women in Pakistan. How does it then make you feel when you see the slow spread of the strictest interpretation of Sharia law?
As far as Sharia law is concerned, there is no change of law going on in Pakistan at this moment.
But in the
yes,
Swat
indeed.
region, there is the Sharia law being followed.
No, that is wrong. That is wrong. The deal that has gone in, that is, I was surprised, I read in some newspapers also here. The deal is for Nizam-e-Adl. They have introduced Nizam-e-Adl in this deal.
Which means what?
It's speedy justice. Cheap and speedy justice.
Which means what? You stone a woman
No,
because she's done something wrong?
No, not at all. Now, if that is the interpretation of any extremist, I am sure the government will respond and the agreement will break. But I know that this is for Nizam-e-Adl. And in this, the legal system of Pakistan, which means the High Courts and the Supreme Court, the appellate, the appealing to the High Court and the Superior Judiciary is very much there.
Okay, I will take your word for that. Now, not from a political
So
point of view.
even in Pakistan, people think that there is Sharia law which has been introduced there. It is not the case. It is Nizam-e-Adl on which there is an agreement.
That might be just a play on words. I'm not sure. I'd have to.
It's a major difference. You must find out.
I must find out about this.
Sorry to interject.
Yes, go on.
There was this issue when the demand of the extremists was when they were talking of Sharia, they wanted that the court's decision by a cleric ought to be final, and it should not be, nobody should be able to appeal against it. That is where you are concerned, that you are bothered what you are saying, but that's not the case.
So the atrocities in women that we hear of are exaggerated, or
Well, atrocities against women, the schools have been burnt. No, you've heard them right. That there have been girls' schools which have been burnt.
does it scare you that maybe one day your daughter will have to, I don't know where she lives, but I believe she lives in Pakistan, that she'll have to leave because she won't be allowed to carry on her profession because she might have to.
No, I
just-
don't think that is
Yeah.
ever going to happen. Please understand that Frontier Province, where all this is happening, is 11% of Pakistan's population. Swat district is maybe just 0.1 or 0.2% of Pakistan's population. So please don't
But
take
in
it that the whole of
history
Pakistan is
in the
happening.
history of Taliban, they survive on, or their whole mission is to spread their kind of Islam. How do you know that you'll be able to contain them when a 12,000 strong army is not being able to control a 3,000
No.
Taliban
The
men?
people of Pakistan, we held the elections on 18 February. What was the result of these elections? First of all, at the national level, the MMA, This is the coalition of the religious parties who had about 16 or 18% of the votes have been reduced to only about 2 or 3%.
So the Pakistan in 5-10 years is not going to go the Afghanistan way.
No,
you can prevent this.
because the people who don't want it. The people don't want it that way.
So you still believe the Pakistani majority is moderate?
Absolutely. I am trying to prove that to you through the election results.
Well, I'm happy to hear that. We have to go for a short break now, General, but we will be back to discuss this more. Come right back. We're talking to General Musharraf.
On the couch with Koel. On the couch with Koel.
General Musharraf, you are a romantic guy at heart. Apart from serenading your beautiful wife, in your young days as a young officer, there was a particular incident involving a beautiful Bangladeshi girl that would have altered the course of your life as an army officer and perhaps the course of history. But of course, 1971 war with India broke out and everything changed. Will you like to tell us a little bit about that incident?
I don't think I would like to get involved with that. And well, one as a you always do, one does come across girls. Obviously, I was not leading a secluded life, and well, that is where it stands. Yeah.
So, for the sake of a girl, it's almost like a, I don't know how much Hindi movies you watch, but it's almost like a Hindi movie. You almost got court-martialed for the sake of a girl, and you got exonerated because of India, in a sense.
No, it was not because of a girl. I wanted to go to Karachi. I went to Karachi on leave. I was going to my parents. It wasn't because of a girl.
Then why were you going to be court-martialed?
Because I went a day earlier. For certain reasons, I got annoyed, and maybe I did a wrong thing. Yes.
At the India Today conclave, you said something which was, Pakistan cannot be coerced. People of Pakistan will not live with coercion. And yet, straight after 9/11, when Richard Armitage told Pakistan that we will bomb you back to the Stone Age if you don't cooperate, then at that time you succumbed to it. Why is it one rule for India and another rule for the US of A?
No. First of all, we didn't succumb immediately. That was conveyed to me through the DGISI. But then we took stock of the situation. We never wanted Pakistan to be Talibanized as the Taliban of Afghanistan. So therefore, it was very easy for us to decide which side we ought to be. And then there were other national interests to guard. Even with hindsight, I said it was a right decision in Pakistan's interest. Coercion to wo hona that you do something against your own interest.
But that's strange that you say that.
But then India, when you are talking of India, now, we are neighbors living in a certain region.
So surely India's safety should be in your interest also.
Yes, indeed.
Obviously.
Yes, why not?
So that you shouldn't consider that coercion.
Coercion is when you try to impose your will on the other, and we will not take imposition of your will on us.
What do you think the present Pakistani administration should do differently vis-a-vis Kasab, that to prove to India that they are on the same side as us on this great war on terror?
What should Pakistan do?
Yes.
But he is here. What should Pakistan do?
But he is, I know you will deny this, but he is a Pakistani national.
Well, if he's frankly, I am not privy to all the details of the investigation. If he is a Pakistani national, so you are trying him, isn't he? He is in your custody, so try him. Now, if the evidence shows that he is the main man, and he happens to be, whether he's from Pakistan or India, doesn't matter, he has done a terrorist act, he should be tried, and whatever the court decides is the final ruling.
In your opinion, just as a man of military and someone who's been in power and understands Pakistan and Indian politics better than lay people, who do you think was behind the attacks of 26/11?
Of Bombay?
Yes.
I can't say. I don't know.
But of course you speculate. I mean, all of us have certain opinions of what.
I would just be conjecturing, and I don't believe in doing that. I don't want to take anybody anybody's name and cast aspersions on anyone. But certainly I would like to say that if there is a thought that Pakistan government or ISI or the army in any way was involved, that is absolutely wrong.
Okay. Now, you command a lot of respect and loyalty within your soldiers. And also within the Indian Army, although you're not very liked, you are respected because you're a man who leads from the front.
This is an art, it's not a science. Leadership is an art, it's not a science.
And you have
this
seemed to
art has
master
to
it.
be learnt.
Do you think you still command that kind of respect and loyalty from the soldiers, even though you're retired? Do you think they would still
Wherever,
stand up for you in the same way?
I am positive about one thing. Whoever knows me even little, has served under me, will lay down his life for me.
In your opinion, who assassinated Benazir Bhutto?
No, it's the Baitullah Masood. We know, we've had the intercepts. It is his organization which did that. We know it.
What could you have done to prevent it, since you were in power at that time?
Yes, we did everything. We, in fact, where she went, we had told her not to go. It's only after the Jalsa which took hours, and there were thousands of people. Nothing happened there, so that was enough evidence of the precautions taken. But if you come out, and having seen that, it's when you come out that there is a break of, before you come, people are sitting in an orderly manner because they don't know when you are coming. So you enter and you go on the stage. When you leave, everyone tries to rush to you, to shake hands or to.
And then the security is
And
is not
there is a
good
security
enough,
lapse.
yeah.
Security is never enough. There may be 20 people, but there is a rush of hundreds of people. So now if you do something like standing out of your car, well.
Do you feel safe living in Pakistan? At the moment, especially?
I attend, I go to my friends, I go to restaurants. I like hot chocolate, for example, so I go to hotels and restaurants to have that, and I go for dinners to restaurants. I attend marriage parties. And
Does the city have to come to a standstill to cordon that area off that you're going to, so that you are safe? Or?
I don't know. There is certain degree of security, yes. But obviously now I am not the president, so that degree of security is not there, but I still move around.
Why does Pakistan have such a negative political obsession with India when the Pakistanis and the Indians are especially the Pakistanis, are so hospitable, they are welcoming, they're so respectful of Indians?
I think it's quite the opposite. There is an obsession against Pakistan in India. I think there is a hysteria, or there is a misperception which is created in the public here in India. In Pakistan, no, India is not perceived negatively. In the political campaign, nobody does any India bashing. Nobody talks of India. Here, everyone talks of Pakistan.
Since you say that you have alluded to this fact that we are the same people with the same culture, the same history, why do you think we still have so many differences that are insurmountable?
Well, we have certain differences because of which we separated in 1947. The problem does not arise that Pakistan has not accepted India. I think there is a problem in some parts of your society who have not accepted Pakistan.
But my question is that we are the same people. I mean, we look the same.
Yeah.
Most people will not be able to tell a difference whether you were Pakistani or I was Indian. We eat the same food, we have the same culture, we have the same history. But yet there is this difference that, do you think that we'll ever be able to get over these differences, to unify the two countries and even get the best cricket and hockey team maybe one day,
I don't think, I think that is asking too much.
Or an economic unification, like on the lines of an EU or...
Well, that could be ultimately when you bring peace, and as I said yesterday, we need to emulate the Europe. But unfortunately, if there are disputes, festering disputes, which we have to resolve, if there is non-acceptance of realities of our existence, if there is attempts at dominating us, so these are, then we won't be able to achieve peace. You helped Bangladesh. I will leave a question with you to answer, you find out and answer yourself. Is India popular in Bangladesh? Please find out.
Well, amongst my friends in Bangladesh, we're very popular. They
No, not your
love
friend.
Indian films. They
No,
love
well,
Indian
that is
food.
different.
We have enough
But generally-
refugees
generally-
on the borders of India. I think we help them with a
Generally
lot of
ask the people
aid.
of-
So,
they-
but I will find out and get
They
back
have
to you.
gas. They don't. The people of Bangladesh will never allow gas to come to India. Why? Why is that so? So, I leave this as a food for
See,
thought.
I'm being interviewed by you now, General Musharraf. I'm supposed to be interviewing you. Can I ask you my last
Okay,
question?
okay.
That is your ultimate goal to come back to power in Pakistan?
No, it's not a goal. But having said that, I would like to add that I love this country. It's my country, and I would like to do anything for this country. If the country is going up and rising, and the governance is going very well, I am the happiest man. I would like to relax, maybe write another book, and maybe carry on my lecture circuits. And if at all, there is a need or there is something that I can contribute, I must not fail the country. That is all that I'll say. But at the moment, no.
On
I
that
don't have-
note, let's take a short break, but we're going to come back and play Couch Confession with General Musharraf.
On the couch with Koel. On the couch with Koel.
General Musharraf, on what occasions do you lie?
I never lie.
Is
I
that
never
the
lie.
truth?
I can hide, I may not say something, but I don't lie.
What would you instantly fall in love with?
Instantly fall in love with. I don't know really. I can't answer this question. I love dogs.
Whiskey is your was your first
And
dog.
now I've got German Shepherd.
Yes, I've
and,
seen it, a supreme breed of German Shepherd. I've
yes,
seen
I
photos
think
of
it's
that
very,
dog.
very good, and I like it very much. It's very well trained, listens to orders, and it's very good.
Listens to orders, most importantly. Is your faithful companion, your Glock pistol, with you?
Right you know
now?
that? No, it's not with me.
Where
at
is
all.
it? And is it still your faithful companion now that you're retired?
Yes, I like the Glock pistol. Yes.
Do you
I like
o-
weapons generally.
Do you only smoke under pressure?
I don't get under pressure. I'm normally relaxed. I smoke in company. If the company is good and if people are smoking, then I smoke. Otherwise, I'm not such a smoker at all.
Because
And
we've only
certainly
seen
not
you a
under
few
pressure.
times. The one time when your plane got stopped, and another time in the 2611, a photograph came out with you and the pistol and a big cigar. And yes.
No.
Who is your favorite Hindi actress and actor? Hindi film actress and actor.
I have always liked the acting of Dilip Kumar, obviously, and Shah Rukh Khan now is very good. Whatever
who
few
doesn't
films,
like him,
Yes,
yeah.
and in actresses, Aishwarya Rai was good. Yes, and we were talking of Priyanka yesterday, and I was very impressed by her. Yeah, I wanted to ask her how come villains are normally bad looking and ugly looking and aggressive looking, and here you are, who are certainly can't be called a bad looking. Then how could you act as a villain and get the best villain award? You must have done something with your face.
That's why she's considered a good actress. Name one Indian that you look up to.
That's a tough question. But I wouldn't be able to give an answer. Who's the one who I look
So
up
not
to?
even a Gandhi or a
Yes, indeed. I am very impressed by Gandhiji. Obviously, he was a great personality, known all over the world. And Jawaharlal Nehru, certainly, and Sonia Gandhi. Being a foreigner and having that kind of a stature in India is a great achievement, I must say.
What would you like your tombstone to say?
I need to be remembered as a humble, down to earth, honest and sincere person.
Thank you, General, for being an absolute delight. I have a little present for you that you can take back on the flight to Pakistan.
Yeah, it's very lovely.
It's a
Thank you
little
very much.
couch cushion.
Yes, yes, I can imagine. Thank you very much.
Thank
it has
you
been
very
a pleasure
much. Absolute
meeting you
pleasure.
and interacting with you. And may I add, you're a very charming personality.
On the couch with Koel.
Brought to you by Moralato by Gitanjali Lifestyle.